Yo, what's up everybody? This is Jose from Southern Her Blogs. Thank you so much for giving me your time so we can talk a little bit about something really important. A lot of my subscribers have asked me, Jose, there's a state income tax in Alabama, brother. That's a serious concern right there. But I'm going to explain to you guys how, yes, there is a state income tax, but the housing is so affordable that it would take hundreds of years for what you pay in income taxes to actually catch up with the home prices. Now, we're also going to talk a little bit about cost of living, but the main thing is cost of housing versus income tax. Is that income tax here in the state of Alabama really that bad? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. So the most interesting thing we got to look into is, what do people pay in income taxes in the United States? Surprisingly, a lot more than me. Now, I think about income taxes, I think about $2,000 a year. That's what I pay as a low-income earner. However, the average in the United States is actually something like $10,000. So, let's get into some numbers. The average person in Florida makes about $60,000 a year. The average income in Alabama is about $49,000 a year. So there's an $11,000 difference, or a $10,000 difference roughly, which means that in Alabama, you're going to pay $657 more every single year in taxes to the government. However, that's not the only factor you have to look at. You got to look at cost of living, cost of housing, and a few other things. Lifestyle also affects how much you spend. So, the average house in Florida is about $252,000. The average house in Alabama is $143,000. So there's a $109,000 difference between the average home in Florida versus the average home in Alabama. $109,000. Now remember that number, because we're going to use that number throughout this whole equation. We're going to remember that number. I dropped my sticky notes. I'm trying to pretend I'm not using those, but I am, because there's a lot of numbers here. Mine's good, but not that good. And I don't want to give you guys, I got sticky notes. All right, so here's the thing. So every year you're going to pay $165 more in your taxes. Now these are averages, of course, but you're going to save $109,000 on an average house. It would take you 165 years for that $657 a year to equate to the cost of housing. Does anybody on this YouTube channel have a life expectancy of 167 years? I know I don't. Now, there are states like New Jersey and New York where the taxes are so high that that equation would be 12 years. So if you're making $12 million a year, then yes, probably go somewhere with lower taxes. But if you're making average numbers, it's never going to catch up with you. And this is somebody who's paying $10,000 in taxes. I don't pay $10,000 in taxes. I usually pay like $2,000. So for me, that number would be dramatically less. I might pay $150 more in taxes, something like that. It's not a whole lot. But it's not just taxes. It's also cost of living and other factors that play into this whole situation. Now, in my personal situation, it's a little bit different. The house that I bought here for $65,000, after I did some repairs, we're at about $80,000. That house in the county and location where I was living in Florida would be $400,000. So I saved $320,000 on housing. So that's 3 times more than the 109 price difference. But it doesn't end there. I don't have that money cash. Therefore, that number, that $320,000 difference would rack up a interest rate. An interest rate that would bring the grand total to about $580,000. Okay, so it wouldn't be a $100,000 difference. It would be a $580,000 difference, something like that. Okay, let's sit back and breathe for a minute. So in my particular case, I am getting at the same exact house here for $320,000 less. With interest, that becomes $580,000. And in that case, the 157 or 657 that you pay in taxes every year would push me to about 3 or 4. I didn't even do the math on that one, but it would push me into the hundreds of years before what I pay in taxes catches up with what I saved on housing between interest rates and what I saved in housing with the actual purchase. Therefore, I don't know if you guys get that, but it keeps holding on to some of these numbers because we're going to use them throughout this whole equation. So in my case, in my personal case, it would take about 360 years for that $657 average more in taxes to catch up with me. So in my case, as a low income earner or an average income earner even, you're not really going to have to worry too much about that state income tax, because Florida is only 6% more efficient on taxes than Alabama. Florida is 22% less than the national average. That's good. 22% less than the national average. Very, very good number. Alabama is about 16%, so there's a 6% difference. It's not these drastic numbers. So that's a very, very small percentage more that you're going to pay. Is that really worth not living here just because of taxes? Absolutely not. If it's weather you're looking at, if it's for lifestyle, you want to be near the beach, all those factors would definitely be more important. But if you're just letting, because a lot of people come to my channel, they're very specific on that's the reason they can't be here. If you're a $1 million or $13 million a year earner, then definitely taxes are a much bigger concern to you, because then 6% of 10 million, now we're talking. But numbers like what we make, no reason to care. It's not that big of a deal. Another, and I pulled up a lot of statistics. Now, cost of living is a little bit more complicated of a subject, because cost of living is really going to vary from person to person. In my case, cost of living is like this. Internet is about the same. Insurance here is about the same, but there's a difference. Back in Florida, I had direct insurance. It's not a real insurance company. It's not really a nice way of putting it, but when I came here, I was able to bundle my auto and car and house insurance in Florida because I lived in a mobile home. State Farm, Allstate wouldn't touch me. Now that I have a house, then it's more attractive for them, and I was actually able to upgrade from direct insurance into State Farm or Allstate. I went with State Farm, and I'm paying $227 for $120,000 coverage plus $20,000 in 2 vehicles full coverage. So $120 for the house, $20,000 in vehicles. It's the price of the vehicles to replace both vehicles, so not bad. It is a little bit, I don't know what other people are paying, but $227 for home and auto combined, that's not bad. I mean, that's fair for me. My electrical bill, I think, is exactly the same mathematical equation as in Florida versus use. So it seems like the electrical is the same. The water here seems to be cheaper. My first water bill was $6, and I think moving forward will be about $8, maybe $14. I don't know. It seems like my water bill here is a lot cheaper. Back in Florida, under the same exact setup, which is city water but septic tank, was $40. So it seems like water here might be a little bit cheaper. I have the same exact setup here as I did back in Florida. Some parts of Florida are ridiculous with their electrical and water, especially the Tampa Bay area, Hillsborough County, Pasco, Hernando. That area of Florida seems to be really bad on utilities. I was in South Florida where it's a lot better. The other thing you have to consider is property taxes. Now, my property taxes here with a homestead exemption are going to be $250. Right now, the first year we paid $450. Next year with the homestead exemption will be something like $250. Doesn't seem like a lot, but back in Florida we were paying without the homestead exemption $1,000, with it $650, $600, something like that. So it's not much of a difference. A few $100 here, a few $100 there. It's not much of a difference. It is cheaper here, but we got a whole lot more back in Florida. So it's not just, sometimes when you look at numbers, you have to dig just a little bit deeper into just the superficial numbers. So like people say, oh, there's a 6% tax in Alabama. I can't do it. You gotta look a little bit deeper than that. Because, like I said, you heard the explanation about how house cost versus taxes, it take you 300 years. You get what I'm saying? So it doesn't really matter. It's insignificant. Now, what is significant with property taxes is this. Even though I'm paying less for property taxes, it did not include my garbage collection. Now, I have garbage collection, but I have to pay a private company to do that. It's not a ridiculous amount of money. I think it's like $200 a year. But back in Florida, that was already bundled into my property taxes, so I didn't have to worry about it. I didn't even have to think about it. Now I have a company. It's the same exact company, same exact service, except for here I'm paying for it, and in Florida it was already bundled with the county. And actually in Florida, I could actually put a couch out by the road. I could put anything out by the road and have a junk removal business. Sometimes I get a little bit more things than I should, and the county would pick it up here. And that's not an option. Now I can burn garbage here in my front yard. You can see right there, I was burning some garbage earlier, and the county in Florida would not have picked that up. I would have had to take it to a landfill, and here I was able to burn it and it just disappeared. So there's so many variables when you look at moving places, especially when they're so different, that it's really hard to give you guys an exact formula for how much cheaper taxes or how much more cost of living is. But I can say this, it's all roughly about the same. It all kind of levels out. Unless you're a very high income earner, then you definitely want to be in a different environment of taxes. If you're making millions of dollars a year, then you definitely want to be in Florida, or definitely don't want to be in New York. If you're making millions of dollars in New Jersey, it's not going to work out really good for you. So it's all bundled in. You get more services. So here, it seems like at first I was like, oh, affordability, only $250 for property taxes. But then when I look at it, I'm like, oh crap, they don't pick up garbage, so now I got to pay to get rid of the garbage. It just snowballs into, you kind of do get a better deal. I think for, when you look at taxes and cost of living, it's very, like if you're a low income person, there's places that are perfect for you. I think for low income earning people, Alabama's perfect. If you want to make less than $30,000 a year, this is probably the place you want to be. Now, if you're making $70,000 a year to $100,000, then probably a place like Naples, Florida is where you want to be, because it kind of, I don't know, like the place for a rich person to live, that's advantageous for a rich person to live, is not the place that's advantageous for a poor person to live. And that's what a lot of my subscribers haven't understood about my move. Yes, Florida's a great, like where I was in Naples, Florida, that's a great place to live if you're at a certain economical level. If you're not at that level, then it doesn't make sense. If you're looking for the $300,000 to $400,000 price range in a home, and you're making $70,000, $80,000 a year, you couldn't want a better package. Kind of like this. I wouldn't even know how to explain. Let's say cars. If you're a poor person, you might want to drive a Toyota. If you're a rich person, you can drive a BMW or a Mercedes-Benz. Like, oh, this BMW is way better than a Mercedes-Benz. Of course it is. But a poor person can't even afford the oil change on your car. So it's kind of like that. It's where, now, the person in the Mercedes-Benz, if he's driving up a hill at 100 miles an hour, he can slam the brakes and stop it dry. The person in the Toyota can't go 95 miles an hour to begin with because the whole thing's shaking. So it's like that. There's places that are really good for affordable people, and Alabama seems to be a great place for low-income earners because everything favors you. And a lot of that taxes that you pay gets put back into society. Section 8, disability, food stamps, a lot of those benefits. So if you're into those type of things, I'll be contributing a little bit to that. So overall, things cost about the same, and the things that appear to cost differently, like at first I thought, wow, I'm only going to pay $250 for property taxes. Yeah, but then they're not going to pick up your garbage outside. I got to have my garbage picked up. That's not optional. So there are people that just burn all their garbage. I mean, I couldn't see myself burning. I'll burn like when I burned the trees, it was like a huge pile. I wasn't going to take it to the landfill. It had to be burned. But I'm not going to burn my garbage every single week because I don't want to pay $200 a year for somebody to pick it up. I'll pay the $200 a year. So it all kind of levels out really well. So internet, it's been really hard to compare apples to apples because back in Florida, I had Comcast and they had a landline connection. I think it was $120, but this internet was the fastest, most incredible thing you can get to upload hour-long videos, which I was doing at the time. And I can still do it here, but now I have what they call hotspot, and a hotspot costs the same anywhere. So it's not so much what things cost, it's about what setup works best for you. Do you want to set up with a septic tank? For example, for me, this is a very inconvenient setup. In Lehigh Acres, Golden Gate Estates, in a lot of places, you end up with a septic tank. I have a septic tank here, but it's a newer septic tank, and it's in really good condition. You can almost see the mound right there, where when they came, they cleaned it out. So about this house. I didn't know if it had a septic tank or where it was. So it's there. I found it after digging around with, rebar. I found it, opened up the lids, had a company come out and pump it. It was exactly the same thing it cost in Florida. But now with that septic tank, I'm only paying the water that comes into my house. I'm not paying the water that goes out. So now I'm paying an $8 water bill. Where if you're in city limits, I'm sure that water bill could run $60, $70, $80, maybe more. I'm not sure here in Alabama. If anybody knows, please comment. But back in Florida, that would run you between between 89 to 100 some dollars, depending on how much water you use, because now you're paying for the city to filter your dirty water, and I'm not paying that. So your setup really makes a difference. Back to Florida, there's places where you have a well water. I have city water, and I pay $8 for it. Perfect. Well water, you have to have about a $5,000 system. If you're buying a house that's 20 years old, you can pretty much guess that any day these things are going to go. You also have to spend about 36. My friend out in the Golden Gate States, he tells me that for his household, it's costing him about $36, and I'm not sure how. This is just what he told me. I don't know how accurate it might be. Maybe more, maybe less. But he spends about like between 16 to 30 some dollars every month buying these salt bags or something that you have to put into these systems, and it's a hassle. Every month, I think twice a month, he has to go in there with these bags and put them into the system. And yes, he's got a well, but he's also got to bring these sandbags or salt bags to filter. I don't know how it works. It seems like a hassle, and I know that the systems are expensive and they're outside your house. They can be stolen. So I'm glad I don't have that here. I don't have to worry about any type of system to filter my water. Don't have to worry about somebody stealing it or this. None of that. I mean, I pay $8, so that's a good little thing. It's a perfect setup for me. So there's places where, like internet. If I was 2 blocks down the road, I could have regular internet, maybe the same speed they have Spectrum. They don't come to my street, but they're about a few streets down, and that's comparable to Comcast. So when it comes to utilities and what you pay for day-to-day utilities and expenses, your particular setup is going to make so much of a difference that it's hard for me to give you guys a solid formula that's going to represent throughout the boards. I probably could have summed that up a little bit quicker. So overall, I'm going to guess on my utilities here are about the same, to be honest. You need $700 a month anywhere you live in the United States, like Florida, Alabama, wherever you live. There's a minimum, like water, light, this, that. There's a minimum standard of expense. It's about the same everywhere you go. Our phones are $170, but that's because I have iPhones, so that's my own personal choice. Overall, I would say that if you're a very high income earner, maybe Florida, a really high income earner, Florida's better. Property taxes are another thing. We talked on that a little bit, but here's the other thing that I forgot to mention about property taxes. There's places in Florida, like in Palm Beach, the city, like in West Palm Beach. I know people, a house like mine in West Palm Beach, this same exact house on a smaller lot in West Palm Beach is paying something like $3,200 a year. Now, back in Florida, I could come up with $1,000 for property taxes. Here, it's $250. If I'm broke, I guess I won't pay for the garbage service. I hope I'm never that poor, but if I'm broke, worst case scenario, it's only $250 for property taxes. $3,200 every single year, that's one you got to save for. You got to like budget into. That's a lot. It really is a lot for being in the city of West Palm Beach. So there are places, particular cities where specific cities. I just grabbed 2 words right there and just mashed them together. Particular and specific. Just made one word out of them. Awesome. West Palm Beach, a house like mine, where I pay $250 for here a year, they're paying like $3,000. And then there's places where it's like $7,000 or $11,000, like New Jersey. And what happens there is they'll change a light bulb in front of your house and charge $800 to do it. You're paying. I don't know how it works. I can't even wrap my mind around how you can pay $1,000 a year, a month. How you can pay $1,000 a month? It just, I don't get it. The money has to go somewhere. Probably very crooked people are behind all that. Here in Alabama, it's a very efficient system. Overall, I can say that if you're thinking about Alabama, don't let that discourage you unless you make a crap load of money. And if you're making a crap load, if you're in that price range, like income range where you make so much money, you live wherever you want. You want to live in Montana, New York, wherever, California, where if you're making that kind of money, you should live wherever you want. I'm not gonna like say how stingy. Like, you're making $13 million a year, and you're gonna say, I can't live in Alabama because they charge me 6%. You still got $12 million a year. I don't know. Live wherever you're happy. But yeah, a lot of people. I really wanted to address this point because there's a lot of people, just because there's a low income tax. Oh, we're gonna die. 6% income tax. Yeah, but the other thing is groceries. Now, somebody already went to my channel and said groceries are 6% in Alabama. I'm gonna die if I go there. Okay, groceries. A lot of people do buy groceries. Other people eat at restaurants. If you're like disabled and living on food stamps, somebody like that, they might spend 80% to 95% of their money on groceries and only like 5% eating out. I'm young. I'm out and about all the time. I can spend 70% of my eating not on groceries, but on restaurants. Now, groceries are about the same. Even with 6% here, it changes so much. Like, you can pay $3 for a gallon of milk, or you can pay $7 for a gallon of milk. So groceries, I'm not going to sit here and debate 6% on groceries, because it's going to vary. Like, if I live here in this town, it could be a number, and then you go to the next town over, it could be 10% less or 10% more, simply based on what that particular store is charging. So it's irrelevant that there's a 6% tax on groceries. That's insignificant. And here's the other thing. In Alabama, most people are paying, or not most, but a massive percentage of people are buying their groceries on food stamps, because, again, they do have a state income tax and they do provide a lot of money. So they're still it's not coming out of pocket either way. So I'm not going to sit here and debate a 6% income tax on groceries. That's ridiculous. Me, here's what I've noticed, because individual lifestyles really make a difference. Back in Florida, we would have Starbucks, and Starbucks would run us between $18 to $26, depending on what combination we did. Okay. What happens is that here we don't go to Starbucks. Hummingbird, which is a hummingbird, very cool, awesome. You won't see that in Florida, at least not in South Florida. Maybe in North Florida, definitely not in South Florida. You see stuff out here that's amazing as far as nature goes. It's beautiful out here. Well, groceries. In Florida, I would have Starbucks. That's what it would cost. Here, we have eggs and make pancakes. And in Florida, we would wake up in the morning and have things to do. The phone's ringing this and go get a Starbucks real quick before I get to work. And you'd spend $26 on Starbucks, and it wouldn't be a big deal. It was just part of the lifestyle. I'm not going to go to Starbucks here. We sit down in the morning, she cooks up some eggs, and we have breakfast for $4. Better than the Starbucks, because I have a Starbucks there, and I've been in Alabama now for over a month. Still ain't gone to it. Won't go to it. Since I've been in Alabama, I haven't done Starbucks. The first day in Alabama, I went to a Starbucks in Dothan, Alabama, and I was like, I need my Starbucks. Florida man, I need my Starbucks. Okay, so I went to Dothan and I needed my Starbucks. And the line was like an hour long. I gave up on it and got McDonald's and kept driving because the line was that long. Then in Auburn, Alabama, I also tried to get Starbucks, and it was the same deal. The line was too long. So it's in the past. I'm not going to spend $26 on breakfast in Alabama. I think one day we spent $11 or $8 on McDonald's or something. Whatever. You're not going to spend those numbers. So for the people that tell me there's a 6% grocery tax in Alabama, dude, I'm safe. When we go to a Mexican restaurant here, we went to one Mexican restaurant that was $17 for 2 really nice meals. And we're ordering steak and chicken and stuff. Good stuff. $17. I've spent $72 in a Mexican restaurant in Florida. The average Mexican restaurant in Florida, you're not going to get out the door for less than $42. You can't. Here, if you spend $42, you are really trying to spend some money. I mean, so for me, definitely eating out, if you're a person that eats out a lot, you can really do well in Alabama as far as how much you're going to save a lot. Like, I've eaten at restaurants here. I'm like, my dad, we went to a restaurant here, and he was like, Jose, if you bought the groceries to make this meal, you'd spend more than what we're paying. I was like, yeah, you would. How does that work? I don't know, because they still have to pay a rent location. Do they buy wholesale? And then no idea. But it seems like lifestyles do make a difference. So, if you're a low income earner, it's a good place to be, especially if you want to sign up for food stamps and disability and all that. We couldn't get anything in Florida, anything we want. We've never got any assistance in Florida. I'm not going to try to get assistance here, but if it came down to that, we can get food stamps, we can get disabled, you can get Section 8. Of course, we own our own house outright. I'm not going to try to fly out for Section 8. But I'm saying there are easier benefits to get here, and you pay for that with income taxes. So I guess it's okay for me to contribute to society. That's the overall grasp and summarize it all. I guess if you're a very high income earner, this ain't going to work for you. But if you're an average person, it's okay to pay 6% in income taxes. You're going to find other areas where you can save, like groceries. It's going to balance out to be about the same. I do find that here in Alabama, I'll be able to do something I was never able to do in Florida, because in Florida, if you made $1,000, you spent $1,000. Here, you can't spend money even if you try to. Like, you can't spend money. Like, and there's days where, like, we go out and eat and everything, and we spend $40. Like, in Florida, you'd spend $140. I mean, there's days where we spend $140 eating out. You know, like if we hit the road and went to $140. It was normal. You can't do that here. So your food's just cheap. And others, McAllister's and Starbucks. We have these companies here. Jersey Mike's. We have all those companies here. You can go to those companies, but lifestyle change now. We don't go to town for those things. You know, we cook our own stuff, or there's a bunch of drive-through places that are a bunch of cheaper food. So lifestyle plays a big role into it. Overall, I don't think taxes should be a big concern if you're considering Alabama. What is more concern is lifestyle. Me, I thought I would never adapt to country living. I in my mind, I still needed the Starbucks. I still needed all these things. No, dude, I'm cool. I wake up in the morning, we get some eggs, some pancakes. We sit down for an hour before we decide what we're going to do that day. There's no rush out here in the countryside. And I really enjoy the slow speed of life. And it's been great for me. And I didn't think, I thought the adjustment process would be harder. But I guess in the city, you're so stressed out that you consume a lot more. Also, I've been able to lose weight. I'm down 20 pounds. I hope I can keep losing weight. I'm outside right now and I'm not sweating. Now, the Hurricane Sally thingy is over that right down there coming at us. It will start to rain. The first rain band is about to hit us. We're going to get some rain here. But we're 3 hours inland, so I'm not even concerned about it. We're just going to get some rain. My house is on a hill. As you can see, house is nice and high, so no worries about flooding. There's a lot of trees, so the wind that really can't damage the house. There's no worries. It might just rain for a few days, and that's about it. And it is what it is. Overall, I think we'll be okay with this storm, but we are going to get a lot of rain. That's about it. Back in Florida, different story. We're 3 hours inland now. So anyways, that's what it is. Taxes explained. Now, I did this video on a live stream and it was really choppy, so I wanted to convey the same information back to you guys in a video so you could actually sit down and watch it. I tried doing a live stream right here where we're at right now, but it didn't work very well because we're surrounded by trees. Anyways, checking out, and that is Taxes Alabama Explained, and we can always touch up on this again in the future. So far, it seems that it's all about the same, really. No big difference.